It gives me great pleasure to introduce our speakers for the kickoff session for this year for our Building Your Toolbox for Academic Advancement, which has 4 sessions over the course of this calendar year. So our speakers today are going to be Drs. Amy Oliveira and Dr. Raquel Belforti, both newly minted associate professors, one of medicine, which is Raquel, and one of radiology, which is Amy. So first of all, everyone, please give them a round of applause. So those are tremendous accomplishments, particularly in this really challenging COVID time. And both of them are going to speak today about their experiences with navigating the networking in academic societies and really how it has helped them to advance their careers so that they could get promoted to the associate professor level. So Dr. Oliveira is going to kick us off. And if you want to go ahead and share your screen, I will yield the floor.
So thank you, Tara, for the invitation to talk on this. It's something that people don't always realize how helpful this can be and how you can actually get better at it, and how being aware of some of these tricks and tips will kind of help make things a little bit easier. So what are really the benefits, just to kind of start? Well, when you have people in other institutions, you have the opportunity to have a lot more mentorship relationships. And from that, you can get either clinical advice if you had a question on a case you're working on or stumped with, or even career advice. And you can talk to them about some of your successes and have kind of that champion encouraging you and praising you when you've done something well. You can kind of use their words of wisdom to get some direction in your career, or even some coaching on how to handle something or what's the best opportunities for you to say yes to. You really can help kind of focus what your goals are when you have a mentor, and can even learn new skills. Some of the other benefits could be collaboration. So you can work with people at other institutions on either conferences to do together, papers to write, work on educational exhibits or educational projects to do for our students. Maybe you don't have a huge group here at Baystate that is in the area of interest you have. You can reach out to other institutions to kind of work together on projects. You may also have the opportunity to do speaking engagements. So you can meet people through networking to bring here to speak with our Baystate family, or get to have the opportunity to speak at conferences or virtual conferences at other facilities, and as well as conferences. And why are we really doing this? Well, it's really needed, like Tara was saying, for promotion. So you really want to get that recognition in terms of outside of Baystate. So moving on to like our region or national, and then eventually international kind of reputation. So you really want to have been known by people at other places. And as you move into the application process, you realize you need people at other places to write the reference letters. You need these referees at other institutions that know of your work and know who you are. So it's helpful to have people that are aware of you outside of the system. The one thing I can say, it really helps. I don't know in every field of medicine. I know with radiology, there's a huge social media thing, especially with Twitter for radiology. It can be a little bit daunting if you haven't tried it before, but finding someone that can help you with the kind of basic setups of it. But I think it's really helpful in a way to get to meet people, especially if you are someone that's a little bit nervous about blindly going up to someone and saying hi. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a way to say hello or to meet somebody without having that in the moment pressure. You can kind of edit what you're going to say. You can kind of message someone quietly. You also can have some facial recognition. So you have your profile picture up there. And I really think it's a good thing to have it be an updated picture of yourself that looks like you. I know a lot of people want to put like their, cats or a comic picture of them. But I really think that having someone be able to recognize you is helpful. So when you go to a conference, people know who you are. And then you're able to spot other people and kind of recognize them and know who you want to go up to talk to. I also think social media can really help with branding. So you can kind of show what your interests are, and you can learn about what other people's interests are. So then you have an idea of what, if you're going to talk to someone at a meeting, what are you going to say? How are you going to approach them? You can show, like, if you have a passion for quality projects, you kind of build that up by showing whether material that you've created or sharing articles that you found really interesting. So you can kind of build up that you're in the realm of quality. So if someone's not just wondering what your interests are. And like I said, learning about other people's interests can definitely help. It's a good icebreaker when you're talking to someone to be like, oh, I know you were very passionate about this topic. We were at a conference and I was introduced to somebody on the spot, and I happened to know that they were very interested in colorectal cancer screening with CT colonography. And it was like a great way to jump in. I had never met the person. I didn't know much about them, but I knew that little tidbit, and it's enough to kind of ease the conversation and get it started. Other platforms are out there as well. And I think it probably depends on your goals and also what in your specific field of medicine is the most popular at the time. So when you want to meet someone, I think there's always a chance for the spontaneous meeting. You know, you may run into them in the elevator of the hotel at the conference. You may just bump into them at the coffee shop. So you want to kind of have something prepared in your head in terms of like an elevator speech, who I am, where I work, what are my goals, something that they're going to be able to remember you by. It should be really brief. You know, it should just be like hi, I'm Amy Oliveira. I'm a radiologist at this institution. And then I'm so happy to meet you, and explain something, you know, this is my first time at the meeting or something, just to kind of get a conversation started. But in the moment, you know, you never know how nervous you'll be to say hi to them. So having something kind of thought of ahead of time is good. If you want to actively seek out someone at a conference, you really want to think about ahead of time, who is it that you're trying to meet? And what are you going to say to them? Want to walk up to someone, you want to have an idea, okay, this is what I want to talk about. This is someone that I've always looked at. I've always been a fan of their work. I want to get to know them. Well, what are you going to say? I think you can walk up to someone at an end of a lecture. And I found a lot of times just saying, oh, I'd love to meet you. I've, you know, followed your work, or that was a great lecture. I had another question. You could follow up with, if someone seems like they're rushing to get out of there, you could just say, I just wanted to say hello and meet you. You know, I know you're busy. If you have a moment during this conference, I'd love to get to grab a coffee and chat more with you. If you are someone that's nervous at doing that, grab a non-shy friend. I've been known to be that before. You can always have somebody walk up with you, and you just kind of feed them ahead of time, like, oh, over there, that's so-and-so. I've always wanted to meet them, and then get that person to kind of go up and kind of start the conversation. You can also, before a conference, email someone and just say, you know, I saw that you'll be at this meeting. I'm really looking forward to it. Can you spare 5-10 minutes there? I'd love to chat. Also, a lot of our virtual conferences now have a list of the attendees that will be at the meeting. You can message them ahead of time or during the meeting. Sometimes it's almost like a separate little inbox, if you will, to kind of ask and see if you're able to set up a time to meet with them. So some of the tips for social events that happen, I find these are very good in terms of ease to getting to meet people. Really know yourself first. So if you know you're going to be nervous and not talk to people, you may want to plan for something, whether it's to go with someone. You know, if you find yourself to be a little bit fidgety with your hands, have something in your hands that you know you're going to be able to like kind of squeeze or keep your hands busy. You know, in terms of drinks, you know, if you're worried about spilling, maybe pick the clear drink to have instead of something like red wine. So that first, think about how you are in terms of meeting people. How to dress. I honestly like to wear something bright when it goes to going to meetings. I hate the sea of black suits at a lot of our meetings. And I feel like if you want to be spotted, and even if that just means having your own friends find you when you're in a huge crowd, wearing a brighter color sometimes just makes it easier to be spotted. I sometimes have gone up to people and just said, oh, hi, I just want to meet you in real life. Like, that's what I mean by the IRL. So if you have followed someone on Twitter or on social media and you just want to actually put a name to a face, just saying that to them. And it's a great way just to kind of break the ice. You can, you know, often compliment something about their work, or at the meeting if they've given a lecture that you've seen. And you also want to remember to introduce people you're with. So a lot of our trainees have come to conferences with us. I find it's a great way to kind of introduce them. So if it's someone that I've maybe met once, I feel comfortable going up to talk to them, but having my trainee with me, I can actually get a longer conversation even started by being like, oh, I know we met once in the past. I'd love to introduce you to my trainee. Here's so-and-so. They get a chance to meet. The person may remember you both, and it gives you an opportunity to talk to them longer. In terms of how to know when to end the conversation, kind of got to watch for some social cues, kind of know that if they're kind of glancing around and looking for someone else, or if they seem rushed, be respectful of time, and I always think the like, let me let you go thing works good in terms of ending the conversation, not trying to take up too much of their time. You can always offer a business card at that point, or suggest, I can follow up with an email if you had more questions that you hadn't finished talking to them about. So ways to get on the committees. So I think breaking the ice and meeting people at conferences is a great way so that people know who you are. In terms of actual committee volunteer work, I think most societies have a link on the website that'll say either how to get on it, who to contact, or direct forms to check boxes and suggest which committees you'd be an excellent fit for. So you can also email the committee chair if they have an updated list. Some of our societies are better than others, I think, in terms of keeping those lists up to date, because every year committees are going to change. If you don't get a response, you may be able to reach out and say, who is the newest committee chair? A lot of conferences will still go with the pen and paper form at the back of the room. It's a great way to kind of put your name out there, as every year the committee chairs will go through, they refresh people, people cycle off after, a standard amount of time for several of the meetings. And also you could just email someone on the committee and ask, I had a colleague recently just say, how do I get involved in that society? And just having them have a connection already can sometimes facilitate it even easier. And then of course, nominated by someone. So someone may just kind of pick your name and suggest you without you even trying. So when we think of our committees, we really want to go back to that promotion pathway and really look at our CVs and see where we have gaps. If we're looking to go on a specific pathway, whether it's the educator pathway, the clinician pathway, the researcher pathway, we want to really look with a critical eye where we have some holes and where we can fill in things. I think that's been the most useful, is kind of knowing that you can't on your own think of the whole thing and then be like, okay, now I'm ready for promotion. It's really like a multi-year process, looking at that CV, seeing where you have some gaps, where can you fill in things to get ready for the 3-4 years down the road when you're going to be doing that promotion. Also remembering that non-clinical focus in terms of what activities you're doing may even offer more opportunities. In radiology, we have obviously imaging work, but we also have a lot of side branch things where you think of quality work. We have a lot of information technology things. So a lot of people are able to get on more committees or involved with more societies when they're actually branching away from the center of radiology to like the informatics sections and things like that. So just remember that you can still count those kind of committee work and get involved in other organizations outside your traditional centered like specialty. And you really want to think realistically when you look at how many committees to be on. So you want to look for, where do you really enjoy working? And also what's really the most impactful? I think having small committee roles in every organization is not going to be as impactful as having a higher level involvement on a few committees. So you want to make sure that you're using your time wisely in terms of the impact, but also things that you really enjoy. And keep in mind what reasons that you're doing those committees. And I think that is all for me.
That's great. Thank you so much, Amy. I think that was a great talk and a lot of very salient points. Raquel, if you want to go ahead and start sharing your screen, we will be delighted to hear from you. And I would like to personally thank Amy for being that person who dragged me along to meet people at networking opportunities. It's very important to have that sort of individual in your life. So go ahead, Raquel. Thank you.
I want her to teach me more about Twitter because I have been Twitter resistant, but clearly
it is.
You need a car ride with me because
all right.
Tara is my go-to person when I tell anyone that a non-shy person Twitter has been amazing. I will completely out her right now and say she resisted for so long till we were in a car ride going to a resident event in the back seat. And I said, you have no choice. You're stuck sitting next to me and I'm starting your account right now. And I will teach you it.
We all need that. We need a long car ride to set up our Twitter accounts. I love that. And it is so important. So thank you. I'm excited. I have no disclosure. So, along the same lines, like why delve into this area of professional societies? Everything that Amy said. When I think about professional societies, I think of membership and then I think of leadership. And membership is, the meeting that you go to annually. You go there to advance your knowledge for CME time. There might be it's wonderful webinars that have happened now in this time of Zoom where we can learn more. There's certain courses and certificates that we can get. It's a great place to present your scholarly work, to have your learners present their work as well. And of course, the networking outside of our own institution. From a leadership perspective, when you do step onto the committee role, which is what's needed for academic promotion, it's really a great opportunity to collaborate more on work together, not just network. You really get a great sense of policy changes and where they come from. And depending on the committee that you're on, you may be able to be part of those policy changes. It's a great opportunity to participate in faculty development and to develop faculty development opportunities for those in your area of expertise. And of course, a great way for self-promotion. I'm going to share with you a journey, because this was a very long journey for me, to be quite honest. I became an attending in 2009, and at that time, I was going to annual meetings. I, would go and present a lot of abstracts, a lot of case reports, do workshops, but I never really felt that I belonged necessarily to a specific society. I'm in internal medicine. There's a lot of options, as opposed to some other subspecialties where it might be one place is where, folks go to. And I kind of dabbled. And it really wasn't until about 2014 that I started thinking seriously about academic promotion. I think for those of us that have been at Baystate for a while, prior to that, it wasn't really necessarily a push. It was something that was there, but I don't think it was really strongly encouraged. But I definitely felt a shift around 2014 that this is something that we really should value. It's important in our field of academic medicine and that we should all be pursuing. So that's when I really started thinking about it, started to get some mentorship on it. And to be honest, the mentorship was a little bit vague. It was publish more, right? Like that was sort of what you thought about with academic promotion, publish more, get more articles. You need at least 10. That was sort of like what I was told along that trajectory. But it really wasn't until about 2018, almost 10 years into being an attending, that I got really serious about it. And I want to share with you what that experience looked like for me. And it really resonates very much with a lot of what Amy talked about, and how I was able to accomplish a great goal of becoming an associate professor at the end of this past year, and really finding my society home and leadership roles in different societies. So I will share with you, I am one of the co-directors for a peer mentorship program that we have at Baystate called Mentors Matters. And with that, annually, I fill out something we call the Professional Vitality Wheel. And I do it annually, except for 2020, when we didn't unfortunately have the meeting because of COVID. And it's a real great space to be like, where am I now? Where am I today? And where might I want to go? And it really was in 2018 here that I said, geez, I feel like my pathway towards academic promotion is going backwards. I'm not really making great strides. And so I really want to think about that and see what I can potentially do about that. And much in line with what Amy said is I really had to think about it. And the first thing I thought about is, does pursuing this coincide with my values? And one of my professional values is achievement. And I have since 2014 been thinking about this. And this is something that I do think is important for my professional career. So yes, it does align with where I want to go in my professional development. The next question was, is this the right time? Can I delve into this world of really committing to whatever, steps I need to be taking to move this forward? And the answer to that was yes. I think that this is important to me. I've recognized that, and I do want to put time into that. I want to be able to commit to it. And next was create a plan. So clearly it's been 4 years since I've started thinking about this. I can't do it on my own. So I need some help with that. And much to what Amy said is it really came down to mentorship. I knew I needed to get some really great mentorship on this beyond just publish more. When I think about mentorship globally, I like to think about it in 3 different categories: that there's mentoring, people that talk with you. There's coaches, people that, tell you what to do, what are the next steps you should be doing. And then there's sponsors, people who talk about you, folks that are going to be saying, hey, Raquel would be great for that committee in this society. And for me, what was really powerful was for my plan was the coaching and in the sponsoring piece. So I found a great mentor who had expertise in the area of academic promotion, who sat with me, who looked at my CV, much like Amy said, and found the holes. And believe it or not, The holes weren't that the publishing, it was my society involvement. I had very little because I had just dabbled. I didn't really belong. I didn't find my home. And the reality is, in the past 10 years, I was not only developing a career here at Baystate, but I was also becoming a mom before. And I just didn't have the time and space to really delve into the leadership aspect of committees. But now I was ready. I was ready to do it. And so with that, and recognizing that that was my piece, I really had to think about my plan about how to do it. And I really got some specific steps, some strategies, much of everything that Amy talked about what to do at a meeting, but really thinking about where should I go? Where should I put my time in? Because we all know that our time's so valuable. And for me, it took a little bit of time. I spent about a year going to different meetings. And I can remember being at one meeting and texting one of my colleagues being like, these aren't my people. like this isn't where I'm supposed to be. And Amy, I'm laughing because one meeting I was at, I had my cards because it had been a while and I was so excited to give my cards out and no one wanted my card. They all wanted my LinkedIn profile and I didn't have one. So on a meeting break, I went in the lobby and created, my husband is like, what are you doing? I'm like, I need a profile. So technology really is very important. I don't think people want your cards anymore, unfortunately. And so it took me a while to find my society home, but with my mentor, she was really able to be like, why don't you try this? Why don't you think about that? And it was so helpful. And I also think really joining listservs so you can see the conversations that are out there, that what's going on in these different societies can really help you find and resonate with a society that might work best for you, where you do feel at home and you do feel that these are your people. Sponsorship is crucial. I really sat and said, okay, who around me here at Baystate is doing this work? Who is already out there on society committees that might be able to sponsor me for something? And that was really crucial. And with that, I was able to be an abstract reviewer for a regional meeting and then a grant reviewer. And, there's these little things that you can do to start getting recognized, start getting involved that were really crucial to then opening up bigger opportunities. Let people know you're interested. Talk to your department chair, that this is what you're interested in. They may have contacts that will be able to help support you grow and get connected. That was definitely an important piece for me when I was trying to get into one of the organizations that was a little bit more competitive. And I was able to, sort of get support through that and reapply and apply again. And then finally, got a position, which was great. And I think that also the more that you're on the listservs, the more that you're going to the meetings, you're seeing who's doing the work, who's presenting the work. Much like Amy said, you kind of understand the in crowd and who to contact and who to maybe go up to during a meeting and say, I really loved this presentation that you did, or I really love that paper that you wrote. It's a way to get connected and you kind of see who are the experts in your field, who are the people that you want to make contact with, that you want to let them know about you, because then opportunities might open up down the line. In regards to my journeys, like I said, it was trial and error. It took me a while. I found my home in NAGA, which is the Northeast Group in Educational Affairs. It's a medical education society that really part of the AAMC, which was just where I should be as a medical educator, which was wonderful. So as I said, sought that out through sponsorship of people, great, colleagues that were already leaders in that society particularly, and was able to sort of open up doors for me. And from there, really looked out for leadership opportunities. And with that, a couple of calls came out and I took advantage and I applied, and so excited that I got them. And now this year, I'm one of the co-conference chairs for the NAGA's annual meeting, which is just mind blowing to me and really lovely and exciting, and something that in 2018, I would have never seen myself doing, which I think is really exciting. Lessons learned. I think that it's really important for us to be informed about, in our professional trajectory, particularly if you are thinking that academic promotion is something that you want for your professional development, then you need to know this is a space for us. Being part of your professional societies is really crucial. It will be the hole in your CV 10 years later if you don't start thinking about it now. And mentor others. Like, I think we should be telling our trainees, right? Get involved early, because I think it's so much easier to sort of grow up in these societies as opposed to, trying to walk in down the line. It's a little bit harder, I think, but really, encouraging those more junior to us to start getting involved. Have it be important to you. It's not for everyone, and that's completely fine, but, make sure you understand your why for why you're doing it and why you might want to be pursuing it. Of course, make sure it's the right time. I mean, you don't want to apply for something and join and then not being able to be part of it, and then them saying that Raquel Belforti, she's no good. She didn't do anything in our committee, so you definitely want to make sure it's the right time, that you can give the space and the energy that's needed. Come up with a strategic plan. Our time is very valuable and it's very small. So, really work with a mentor, coach, or sponsor to really think about where you should be trying and putting in your efforts, so that it would be something that would really be able to help you and be fun. As Amy said, this should be fun work that we're doing. Find your society home, and don't overcommit. One of the places where I am right now is, now that I have some involvement, I'm seeing all this other potential involvement. And so I really had to sort of be like, all right, let's stop volunteering, let's stop and just enjoy where I am. And really, with the few things that I'm doing now, it kind of went from being a chore to now being a real great love. I'm really enjoying being able to explore relationships with colleagues and in collaborations outside of the institution. And it's been, although it took the nudge of academic promotion, it's really been just a fantastic experience. And so I love this quote: a goal without a plan is just a wish. So for 10 years, I was just wishing. And then I finally had to get a goal and a plan, and I was able to, accomplish that goal.
Well, thank you both so much. I think that those were fantastic talks filled with so many pearls. I will echo actually one thing that I thought was very, very clear from both of you, and that I have experienced as well. Finding your tribe, finding the right people who really can share your vision and can collaborate with you to have such impact on societies as a whole. And I think, particularly in this time of COVID, where we are all struggling, having your tribe is a great way to improve your resilience, because you can talk to someone outside your institution who can validate what you are experiencing locally. I think it's really important.